Hey everyone, my name is Jack, and this is a little bit of a different video here. I'm going to be starting a new series as I document my path towards building a $100,000 portfolio in M1 Finance. This series was very much inspired by Joseph Carlson's amazing series, which many of you are probably already familiar with, where he is building a dividend income portfolio on M1 Finance as well. He's actually the guy who introduced me to the platform and really got me into it, and now I'm starting my own. Actually, a large portion of this portfolio will be the same income portfolio that he's been building, but I'll get into that in a bit. For those of you who don't know, M1 Finance is a free brokerage platform that allows you to invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs for free. You can research all the stocks that they have on their platform. It's basically every publicly traded stock or fund out there. You can organize them by things like dividend yield or market cap or historic returns, and you can really try to allocate your holdings towards a portfolio that you want to build based on your risk tolerance or your financial goals. And then when it actually comes to investing, what's really cool about the platform is that you can build your own sorts of mutual funds. They call them pies on M1 Finance, but it's really just like building funds, and you can put different funds within these funds. As you can see, my base portfolio has 5 different funds within it. And I'll break down each of those in a second. Just wanted to explain how exactly this interface works. And it's really easy to navigate, which is a big reason why I wanted to start doing this with M1 Finance. And as you can see, I've already made a number of investments into the account over the last couple weeks. I started it at the very end of January, and hopefully we'll get this thing up to 100 grand soon enough. I'll be doing periodic updates on this portfolio every single month on the 15th to see what progress I've made or if the market's had any sort of dips, and it will actually coincide with the net worth series that I'll be doing. Be sure to subscribe to this channel to make sure you don't miss updates for either of those. So how exactly do I have my portfolio? Well, most of it is actually going to be in broader index funds. This is actually inspired by another YouTuber who I highly recommend, Ben Felix. He goes over different types of stock investing, and generally he advocates for a much broader diversification throughout the whole market to make sure that all of the unnecessary portfolio risk is eliminated and you only have market risk, which generally over the long term is the best allocation. So as you can see, I clicked into it, and this is made up of 3 parts: a total stock market ETF, a Vanguard small cap ETF, and then a Vanguard value ETF. All of them should give me a very broad coverage of the entire stock market and will make up the base of my portfolio. A large portion will also be towards the Joseph Carlson Dividend Fund. What's also cool about M1 Finance is that you can easily copy and paste other people's funds if you share them. I've actually included a link in the description. This is how I copied Joseph Carlson's. You just click on the link that I'll have in the description, and you can copy the person's fund, and then you can use that as the basis for your own fund, or if you want to adjust it, you can do that as well. As you can see within Joseph Carlson's dividend fund, he has a lot of focus on, of course, income investing and trying to maximize his dividend yield and dividend growth over time. So naturally, he has a lot of holdings in real estate and bonds, since those are income-oriented securities. Within the real estate portfolio, he's got a number of REITs, including a large portion in Realty Income, a very large REIT that will pay monthly and quarterly dividends because it's an income-focused business, a REIT. So that's just an example of how you can break it down in M1 Finance. Another larger holding I have is in what I call a New World Order fund that I created myself. It's mostly larger tech firms, but also some other things, all with the goal of trying to take over the world, the big notable 3 being Amazon, Tesla, and Google, naturally. Though, of course, there's some others as well that want to take over the world. I have Uber and Lyft down here, mainly for autonomous driving technology that they're trying to develop and all that stuff. But you could do whatever you want with the portfolios, which is why it's so cool. This portfolio has actually been pretty carried by Tesla in recent weeks, since we're probably nearing the end of what seems to be a slight bubble in the Tesla stock valuation, but we'll see. I think they're a strong long-term play, but you never know with stocks. But I'll take my chances. Another fund I have is an index that I discovered on Reddit. I won't explain what BWC stands for. Let's just say these are stocks that are oriented towards a specific type of consumer in the U.S. market. If anyone finds that Reddit post, I won't give you anything except for mad props. It is a very specific portfolio filled with mostly very successful companies, and this fund itself has actually done very, very well over the last few years, and hopefully will continue to do well because it has a very strong consumer profile. Now, another thing that M1 Finance has are what they call expert pies, and that you can pick a pie that M1 Finance has developed themselves. This is a Berkshire Hathaway pie that mimics what Berkshire Hathaway, the company, does. And if you want to adjust what Berkshire Hathaway is actually doing with their publicly traded holdings, you can do that as well. But it basically just mimics what their holdings were in the last quarter's call, so that you can mimic how Warren Buffett and the Berkshire boys are investing, at least in publicly traded stocks. Obviously, you can't get a hold of the privately traded ones, but it's a start, and it's just a cool thing that M1 Finance allows you to do as well. And you can see on their page they have more expert pies, some of them geared towards responsible or sustainable investing, others that focus more on dividends, kind of like the Joseph Carlson Fund, among many other different types of investments. Now, I just want to go over a couple more things that make M1 Finance super useful and rather unique from a brokerage perspective, and that's that it reallocates your portfolio based on your target allocations. It's a robo-advisor after all, so it will try to rebalance your portfolio to be whatever your target is. So here you can see I want 50% of my portfolio to be this Ben Felix Balance fund. And if it's overweighted or underweighted, then every time more cash is added to the account, or if dividends are made, those dividends and cash will be reinvested to try and prop up the underweighted accounts and won't go towards the overweighted accounts. That was especially a problem with the Tesla run that we had, because this New World Order fund became very overweighted because of the Tesla stock value going up so fast. That the next time I added cash, almost none of it went to Tesla, and most of it went to all of the other funds and the other stocks within the New World Order Fund to try and rebalance it accordingly. You can also manually rebalance by clicking here for rebalance, and then you can also edit the actual portfolio allocation. And again, you can either try to force the rebalance in one trade session to where it'll sell off shares if you want it to, or it will automatically do it through any new cash contributions or any dividends that you get in time. Now, another very important feature on M1 Finance is the fact that you can borrow against your portfolio at a rather absurdly cheap interest rate of 3.5% or 3.25% if you pay a certain amount. It's not really worth it unless you take out a serious amount of debt here. But this could be very helpful for investments, of course, if you're sensible with it. Using debt to invest in anything needs to be done very carefully, since if you can't meet your obligations, you're going to lose a lot of money. But this interest rate is really good. And if you have at least $10,000 in your portfolio, you can instantly borrow up to 35% of your portfolio value to either invest in more stocks, invest in other things, or invest in any other product, including things like real estate, which I'll probably do in the future, because that is a very competitive, super low interest rate, especially for what's a margin loan, because usually those are a lot higher, 5, 6, even 7%, depending on what type of account it is. Obviously, I'm not going to use this money to aggressively speculate with it, but this is something that can make your account a lot more flexible over the long term once you build up a substantial holding. Now, throughout this video, you may have been wondering how I can have such small positions in companies like Google, Tesla, and Amazon, where, for example, I only have $34 in Tesla when its share price was close to $1,000 very recently, or for Amazon and Google is over $1,000. How can I have such a small share? Well, the other cool thing that M1 Finance does is it lets you invest in fractional shares, so that you don't need to have the entire share price saved up to still get a position in these large, successful companies. This also allows you to really fine-tune your portfolio to make sure it's always allocated how you want. You're not going to need to save up $1,000 to buy one of these expensive shares, since the portfolio will just buy a fraction of that share to make sure that you are nice and allocated towards your targets in the portfolio. Well, anyways, that's about all I wanted to cover today. I just wanted this to be more of an introduction for this portfolio I'm building, as well as how M1 Finance works. If you're interested in starting your own M1 Finance portfolio, I do have an affiliate link in the description if you want to start your own account, and I also have a link to my portfolio that you can then copy into your M1 Finance account if you're interested. I'm not a financial advisor, but hey, maybe you like how this portfolio looks. Go ahead and use it for yourself. Either way, if you like this video, be sure to give it a like as it helps the channel out a lot. If you have any questions or comments on this portfolio, be sure to leave your comments below, and be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any updates on both this portfolio and all of the other things I'm going to be working on in the foreseeable future. Until next time, take care.